The bow is completely broken and unbalanced. You know, that might be a little bit of a exaggeration. But let's get right into what is the biggest problems with the bow right away. And that, number one, is getting your arrows back. This used to be a bigger problem as arrows used to disappear more often and they don't do it as much now, but still sometimes where if you shoot your arrows, they just disappear, especially if you shoot dogs. For some reasons, dogs just seem to chomp up your arrows before they die. And don't even get me started about the meatheads' big booty collisions because those always seem to get in the way. But we'll talk about that more in another video. Specifically, the meatheads are broken and unbalanced video, which is coming out soon, hopefully. There's also a chance that the bow just won't shoot when you try to use it. If you try to quick shot by clicking, sometimes it just won't shoot, and then if you try to pull the arrow back by holding, sometimes they won't pull the arrow back and it might just either quick shoot or just sit there and do nothing. The arrow's damage on people also seems to be inconsistent, as sometimes a fully pulled back chest shot kills and then sometimes it just doesn't. Are you ready to play How Did That Not Kill? Today's clip on How Does That Not Kill is with a bow. Jimmy, roll that clip. Now Jimmy, play that in slow-mo. As you can see, the arrow hits him near the neck/upper chest. It looked like it was a neck/head shot, and you can see the blood pour from his throat as the arrow hits him, but he somehow survives and doesn't get hit by the blast from the Romero as I switch weapons, and he should be at least bleeding out, but he runs and hits me with a Mosin and a Lamat shot before he bleeds out, and I somehow lose that fight and he survives. Anyways, I'm your host, Vacantknight, and that has been it for today's episode of How Did That Not Kill? So as I was saying, the bow's damage is very inconsistent. Sometimes it one-shots some enemies, sometimes it won't, sometimes it's just a roll of the dice, sometimes your arrows just go into oblivion. Sometimes it will even hit someone, then not kill them instantly, but make them bleed out before they can even react. So it seems like it's an insta-kill, but there's like a split second before they actually die. So they like get hit by the arrow and they're like, my goodness, I just got hit by an arrow. And then they bleed out and they're all over the floor. The bow also does 227 variable damage, so the damage value goes down, so you have to pull the arrow all the way back for it to do maximum damage, and then depending on how far that arrow travels, changes how much damage it does. So the further you shoot the arrow, the less damage it does, but it will still cause the same amount of bleeding. And technically the crossbows do the same exact thing, but hey, we're only talking about the bow right now. And it kind of punishes you for hitting the long shots and the more crazy shots, as not only is it super difficult to hit those shots because of the huge drop on the arrows at a distance, but it won't do as much damage. So if you hit a crazy long distance shot, it has a very low chance of actually killing them, unless maybe you hit them in the head, as every weapon in the game one-shots if you hit someone directly in the head. But even then, some guns still can't one-shot at a distance because it just doesn't have the range. And I know this game is going to try to go for a little bit more realism with the guns and the weapons, but it's a game, and the game should be fun, and it shouldn't punish you for doing something cool. So if you, basically with the bow, if you do a cooler, more crazy, awesome shot, it kind of punishes you with like, hey, you did that awesome, crazy shot across a compound, but yeah, I didn't kill him because it does nothing. The bow is extremely good at taking out AI and bosses though, and it can do it silently because, well, it's a bow, and it can one-shot grunts, hives, armors, immolators, dogs. I mean, that's most of the AI you're going to have to deal with, and you can just one-shot all of those. Meatheads take 6 normal arrows to kill and 5 poison arrows to take down, and you can also take down the bosses silently and quickly with both normal and poison arrows, but you're not going to want to use your poison arrows on the spider as well. The spider is immune to poison damage, so I don't even know why you would try that. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can still kill the spider with poison arrows because it still does the same amount of damage as normal arrows, because they're just normal arrows with poison tips. If you hit anyone with a poison arrow, they're going to be in big trouble, as it's going to leave them low health, almost 1 HP, and they're going to be bleeding and going to have to bandage up, and they can't heal because they're poisoned. So even if they stop the bleeding, they're still going to be low health because they're poisoned, and you can't heal when you're poisoned. And I know that from experiences. I got hit with one of these arrows, and it was pretty much, it put me out of the fight instantly because I'm poisoned, I'm bleeding, I have to take cover and heal, and of course, because you're bleeding and you're low HP and you're poisoned, they're just gonna push you if you're close to them, and you can't really do much about it. One thing to note about the poison arrows is you don't really get that many of them. You get around 7 poison arrows, so if you miss some of your arrows, you're gonna be very low on arrows very quickly. The other arrow types like Concertina or Frag, you should never waste on the AI, and you should always save those for players. I mean, you can use the Concertina to take out like ducks and crows so they don't make any noise, or armors or immolators even, but you really should save those because you don't get a whole lot of them, and you should save those for fights if that's what you're bringing. Speaking of Concertina and frag arrows also, a double bow loadout with one bow having frag arrows and the other bow having Concertina arrows make a deadly combo. You can make people bleed with a Concertina and slow them down, possibly even getting them stuck if you hit them directly in Concertina with heavy bleeding, and then hitting them with a frag arrow and blowing them up as they can't really run because of being stuck in the Concertina and bleeding to death. Also, frag arrows cause bleeding, so no matter what you do, somebody will be leaking, kind of like this guy in Cyberpunk. I think you're leaking. You might want to call a plumber with all that leakage. As long as you're up close, because that combo at a distance is pretty useless, not only because you're using bows, but the frag and Concertina arrows have massive drop compared to normal arrows. You'll also have very little ammo with both bows, so that's another thing to know. I mean, it's mostly a crazy joke loadout, so only take it when you want to mess around. Though, if you don't want to go as crazy as that when going double bow, you can always have one as the normal arrows and one as the other special arrows, like frag arrows. Or, if you want to get super crazy, you can go double bow and carry all 4 types of arrows. I personally never tried it, but it sounds hilarious and fun, and I might go try it after I get done recording this video. Overall, the bow is a very good and fun weapon that takes some skill and practice to get good with, but it's just very inconsistent and somewhat broken. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Leave a comment below, tell me what you guys think about the bow and this video. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because you want to be subscribed. And I'll see you guys next time.